The time is 8 minutes to 7. One of the complications of the junior doctors' strike is the wide range of estimates given for what they can actually earn. The same as someone in Pret serving coffee, or £29,000 a year, which is more than most graduates, or £56,000, which is what the government says is the average figure, or indeed all of the above. Let us turn to Helen Buckingham, who is Director of Strategy at the Nuffield Trust, a disinterested person looking at all of this. Good morning to you, Helen. And it could be all of those, couldn't it? Because that's the point. It depends how you select and add up what the earnings are.
Absolutely. I mean, there are 75,000 what we call junior doctors working in the NHS in England, and so that's a massive range from people who are fresh out of university to people who are almost ready to be a consultant. And so that's why you see the range in the figures that you quoted. Quite right. The starting salary is about 29,000, just over 29,000. Basic salaries can go up to about 58,000, and we calculate that the average earnings of a junior doctor, including those working part-time, is about £55,000 a year, full-time equivalent about £57,000 a year. But because you've got that huge number of junior doctors across that huge range of experience, those figures vary.
To which what some junior doctors say, well, hang on a second, look just at what happens to us when we first start and the amount of work we have to do for that £29,000 a year. And that is where the business of whether or not they're earning more than someone serving coffee in a cafe comes in, because it's just the amount of hours, the amount of work that they've got to put in.
It's a combination of the hours and the responsibility. I mean, the starting salary for foundation year doctors, as that's what we call the doctors who are fresh out of university, at 29,000, is a little bit higher than the average graduate starting salary. And again, there are different figures that you can place on that, but we think it ranges from 24,000 to 27,000 a year. But the time and the responsibility that's being placed on the shoulders of junior doctors is probably a little bit higher than your average starting graduate.
Yeah, and specifically on the time, can we say that they are expected to work longer hours than a normal starting graduate would?
Well, the expectations, the European Working Time Directive, although we've left the EU, that still governs the way in which we expect doctors and indeed anybody else in the NHS to be working. And that assumes that the maximum time that people can work in a week is 48 hours. But of course, that's averaged over a period of time. So it is quite possible that junior doctors are working more than 48 hours in a given week. And that's certainly more than the average for the population.
And what about these grants that some papers were talking about over the course of the weekend? It has to be said, papers probably hostile to the junior doctors, suggesting actually there are quite large grants also available, which are never included in the final figures.
Well, again, that's another reason why figures vary when you're looking at salary. It depends if you're taking into account the basic salary or if you're taking into account things like overtime payments. But of course, it's quite normal in wider industry, in the private sector, for people to be paid overtime when they're working outside their normal hours. So there's no difference in the principle for junior doctors compared to many other employers.
Yeah. And a wider look at it all, why so angry now? I mean, we know the guts of the dispute is about what they say is a considerable cut in their earning power over the last decade or more. But why has it come to a head now?
I think doctors, like other staff in the NHS, are tired. They've had 3 years working at an incredible pace and under incredible pressure during the pandemic. The pandemic itself is easing now somewhat. It's not gone away. But of course, what we've also experiencing is the impact of what really 10 years of austerity on what's happening in the NHS. So if we look at what's happened to waiting times, the length of time that people are waiting for treatment, that's been going up since before the pandemic. The environment that people are working in, the state of the buildings themselves is poor. So we know that the level of what we call backlog maintenance, the amount of money that we have to spend to get our estate up to where we want it to be as a country, is about the equivalent of the whole budget for capital for the NHS in a year. So they're finding themselves working in difficult conditions, that we have high levels of vacancy, we have high levels of sickness. And on top of that, they can see that their pay is being eroded in real terms. So they're tired and they're angry.
Helen Buckingham, Director of Strategy at the Nuffield Trust. Thank you.